S is?
Isn't it just...
Da, da, da.
Yeah.
Yeah. Da,
That's...
da, da. Now do them longer.
Oh.
Did it. There you go. You just
Oh,
did
really?
SOS.
Hold on,
So now
let me do it again so they get the message.
Okay. Yeah.
That's so cool. An antenna may seem like the antithesis of modern technology, but without the antenna, humanity would not be moving forwards. Your smartphone has an antenna. Radios have antennas. And antennas pick up the thousands of radio waves that are constantly circling around our bodies. Communication is power. Whoever owns the airwaves is able to control the minds and information that is consumed by the inhabitants of a nation. In 2016, social media rules the airwaves. The means of communication have been decentralized. Major powers do not necessarily hold the key to spreading the mass information that is necessary to control large groups of people. Companies like Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter are without a doubt the kings of today's communication landscape. But how did we get here? Who were our forefathers? How did we end up in a world where we are able to spread anything we want at any moment at any time? Marconi sent the first wireless transatlantic radio signal in 1902. Throughout the years afterwards, the cost of the technology became lower and lower so that it wasn't merely reserved for emergency or special events. The first transatlantic radio signal that Marconi broadcast may have made huge international headlines, but the event that Canadians really cared about happened in 1923. The first hockey game was broadcast over radio in that year, and that was also the same broadcast that we heard for the first time, Foster Hewitt making his famous sentence, "He shoots, he scores." Radio may seem like a forgotten technology, but radio was the first social network. Thousands and thousands of miles of cable connected desolate, lonely communities. People, for the first time, were able to communicate with one another across the world, across the country, across the city. Without a doubt, radio was the first social network and allowed people to socialize with one another in ways that were not yet available to previous generations. Today, anyone can operate a smartphone. Toddlers can operate smartphones. Children in middle school have Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram accounts. But in the early days of the radio, the barriers to entry were pretty high. The technology and equipment necessary to operate a radio broadcast station was complicated. Some famous individuals, though, were pretty good at this. Before he was famous, Johnny Cash was the best radio operator in Germany. It took a lot of skill and talent to be able to communicate with others. It wasn't the easiest thing to do, but it was the precursor to modern social networks. Without quick and efficient communication technology, societies and the world would fall apart. Everything from the stock market, news agencies, and personal lives are ruled by how quickly we can spread information. No one can predict how far and how fast communications technologies will progress. In the 20th century, the largest achievement was the laying of the transatlantic cables, which allowed North America and Europe to connect and communicate with one another with telegrams. Telegraphy was a major and huge accomplishment that was the bedrock for all future communications technologies. In the 21st century, though, it was Mark Zuckerberg in his dorm room that created Facebook and shook the world. With codes and computers, Zuckerberg changed the world. No epic and dangerous transatlantic voyages were necessary for him. We may no longer gather around the radio, smoking our pipes and listening to the hockey game. But communication technology is constantly evolving. The social media landscape is constantly evolving, and history is still being written. It might be written by someone sitting in this room today. Stranger things have happened.